Hello. So I wanted to make a video to show a little bit more of my vulnerable side because I think sometimes because I've been doing so much work on myself and self-love over the last year or two that I feel like I come off as like knowing all the answers. And I don't think we ever know all the answers. I think we always have work to do. We always have growth to do. So I just kind of wanted to show everybody why I started doing this work, I guess. To show you that, we all go through stuff. And the cat came to say hi because he always does the second I make a video. But yeah, so a couple years ago, no, let's go back further than that. When I had kids, I had my firstborn. I had just gotten out of a relationship that was like a couple years long, and it was pretty good. But it was one of those that it's like, it's going to end. It's just like when. And so it ended. And then 5 seconds later, I got pregnant with a previous boyfriend. And he always wanted to have a kid, and yet he never really was involved when I was pregnant, and he never really showed up for my son after he was born. And so I think that began kind of a down spiral for me because I never really saw myself as a mom at all, let alone a single mom. And there was a lot of difficulty there in raising a kid by myself. And then about a year and a half later, I met this guy who came in and helped me with some of the things that I was insecure about as a parent, but very quickly became very emotionally abusive to me. And since I was already in a really fragile state, as very insecure as a parent, and kind of felt like a failure doing it by myself and such, he kind of took advantage of that and stepped into a role that was cutting me down so that eventually I could build from that. I'm very grateful at this point for my relationship with him because it showed me all the stuff, all the places where I wasn't loving myself and where I needed to. And ultimately it fast-tracked my growth to where I am now. And I don't think I'd be where I am now if it weren't for that relationship. But at the time, I wasn't very grateful for it. It was pretty terrible. But so yeah, it was like he found all my holes, and he found my insecurities, and he just played on those big time. And that's what will happen in life, is wherever we're not complete, wherever we have a hole, someone will come along, or will allow someone to come along, or will attract someone because that's where our spot is, our hole. A hole is a really good word, I think. And so we're looking to that darkness to kind of show us how to patch ourselves back up. So given that, it took a while, it took a long time, pretty much a whole decade of not being super well to kind of start patching up all the holes. And, I think it's always a process of patching until we get recomplete. So that is work that I continue to do daily. I'm very introspective. I'm very reflective on the experiences that I have every day so that I can continue to grow and be a better person, be less judgmental, be less self-deprecating, be less, non-loving myself. So it's work worth doing, and I keep saying that. And when I say self-love, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a bath, and it's way deeper than that. Sometimes it means sitting in the absolute darkness and just being like, what the hell am I supposed to learn from this? Why have I spent my life being resentful, or why have I spent my life judging people for X, Y, or Z? Why have I spent my life feeding my body miserable foods? Why have I spent my life X, Y, or Z? Whatever it is that you look at. And when you start to look at that, sometimes it's painful. Like sometimes it hurts, and it's like a reminder of where you feel like you've been failing. But let me tell you, it's not failure when you learn from it. It is an absolute 100% success story when you learn and grow and patch that hole up. The way I explained it to a student today, I thought was actually really appropriate for this conversation. He said, can I ever grow and change from the miserable person I've been? He's like, I've, hidden from myself through drugs. I've hidden through myself, from myself through relationships, blah, blah, blah. And this kid's very astute. He's 19 years old, and he's understanding things like it took me till I was 40 to get. So I told him, I said, you're doing amazing. But the point is, I said to him, I said, when we're little, when we're born, we come in pure and whole to this world. And then we're told, no, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Or we're not hugged enough, or, we feel scared and we get yelled at, or we're our authentic self and it's weird. And we're told, don't do that because people will think you're weird. Whatever it is. It can be little things like that, or it can be abuse. It can be, anything traumatic we deal with as a child. It can be little, seemingly little stuff, but it still makes these little holes in our authentic selves. And these holes leak throughout our lives. And so we're constantly trying to patch up these leaks. And we do it with food. We do it with addiction. We do it with drugs. We do it with sex. We do it with shopping. We do it. We just try to patch up these various holes around our bodies with things that are temporary, and yet we keep attracting the same thing to show us, to mirror for us what it is that needs to be healed. So, for me, I felt invisible a lot when I was little. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like I was always striving to be like, look at me, look at me. And so I was looking to heal other people who needed to be seen. And so I would attract these narcissistic people that would take advantage of my empathic nature, who would just take and take and take and take and take from me. And I allowed it because I was being my own narcissist, who kind of was attracting that. It was like a magnet to me. And so I wanted to fix these people. And what it took me many, many years to realize is that you can't fix somebody else. You can only fix yourself. And so I needed to look at my own inner narcissist. I needed to look at my own inner empath and be like, what the heck? How can I patch up these holes internally rather than just putting a Band-Aid on, right? And so that's where the self-love comes in. That's where the mantras come in. That's where the saying kind things about yourself comes in. That's where the sitting with your inner child and giving him or her the love that they didn't get when they were tiny, telling them it's okay to be weird. It's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to jump off that whatever, that wall into the unknown, because kids are free and authentic, and we stop them from that all the time because of fear. Because we want to protect them. And sometimes it's necessary. Obviously, we don't want our toddlers falling down the stairs, but there are ways in which that blocks them from their growth, right? And so what we need to do to patch those holes is to go within, heal up from the inside out. And then those holes aren't holes anymore. They reform themselves. And now you're more complete. And then once that's gone, that wound is gone. You don't need the Band-Aid anymore. You don't need the drug. You don't need the food. You don't need the whatever it is that you were trying to patch it with previously, because it's healed and it's gone. So this is the deep inner work that I challenge people to do, and that I support people with when I'm doing my coaching, and that I have been supported by my coaches. And it's been so life-changing because I don't have to worry about some of those holes. I still have some to patch. I still have some I'm trying to uncover and figure out, because that's the hard part a lot of the time is being truthful enough with ourselves to find them, so that, and being honest with ourselves that that's really what it is, that it's really us who's attracting these things. So if you notice you have a lot of patterning in your life, like you do attract a lot of narcissists, that's your stuff. And once you heal your stuff, it just stops. It doesn't happen anymore. And because you don't need it to. You don't need it to fill that hole any longer. So I challenge you all to sit deep, think about these things, really reflect upon what it is you're unhappy with in your life, what it is you're unhappy with in yourself, so that you can start to really dig in and do this work. It's hard, but simple, if that makes sense. It gets difficult because you will have to sit through some things you'd rather probably not sit through, but it's so easy to do. And once you do it, it lightens you up like so wonderfully and so fast. And I can't tell you how life-changing it is. Ask people who are close to me how different I am from a year ago or 2 years ago. And they're just like, I don't recognize you. You're always happy and things are always good. I mean, they're not always happy. That's not true, because I am still doing the work, like I said. And it's not like poof, everything's perfect, but things are good in a way that they've never been in my life, because I had never done that work and the patching of the holes that I needed to do, and I still working on. So that's long-winded, but just to let you all know that it's not like poof, things are awesome for me all the time, because there are still things there, but it is pretty kick-ass getting through some of them, because you do feel a lot better. So if anyone wants any support, reach out. We can talk about life coaching. It is, to me, it's invaluable, but you need to do it when you're ready. If you're not ready, then it's just like anything. If you can join the gym, but if you're not ready to make that change, it's not going to make a difference. You just won't go. So don't do it unless you're ready to do it, because it's, like I said, it's definitely work worth doing. And you show up as a different person when you're whole. And then you bring nothing but love to yourself and to others. And that's really the work that needs to be done on this planet. And it's a really cool thing. So thank you for letting me be vulnerable. Thank you if you made it through this whole video. I know it's kind of a long one, but I wish all of you the best in your journeys, and reach out with any questions, and I will catch up with you guys soon. Bye. Good night.